All right, let's get right into it. There's a story unfolding behind all the headlines about housing prices in Canada, and it's a big one. We're talking about why the country's home builders are in serious trouble, and, more importantly, what it means for you. This is a crisis that's literally reshaping the foundation of the housing market.
Okay, let's start with a number, 773. That's how many construction companies in Canada have filed for insolvency just in 2024. Now, that's not just a statistic. It's a huge red flag that something is going very, very wrong behind the construction cranes you see across the country.
And to put that number into perspective, this is the highest it's been in 15 years. It's a 43% jump from just last year. In fact, construction now makes up the biggest piece of the pie when it comes to business failures in Canada. Yeah, bigger than retail, bigger than hospitality, bigger than tech. We're looking at the toughest time for this industry in more than a decade, and it's not even close.
So, what is going on here? Why are we seeing this massive wave of financial trouble hitting everyone from the small-time contractors to some of the biggest developers in the game? Well, let's break down the perfect storm that got us here.
You see, it wasn't just one thing. It was this convergence of three huge pressures hitting all at the same time. And together, they created a situation where the basic math of building a new home, well, it just completely stopped working.
So here's how it went down. First, costs just exploded. I mean, in a place like Toronto, construction costs shot up 80% since 2018. Then, interest rates went through the roof, turning what were manageable loans into these massive monthly bills. And then, the final blow, pre-sales. Pre-sales are the lifeblood for new projects, right? It's when buyers commit early, giving developers the cash to actually build. Well, those sales just vanished. In the Toronto area, they collapsed to a 28-year low.
And don't think this is just affecting the little guys. That number, $1.6 billion, that was the debt hanging over just one single stalled 85-story tower in Toronto. This was supposed to be Canada's tallest residential building. It just goes to show you that even the biggest, most ambitious projects are getting squeezed until the numbers just don't add up anymore.
And of course, a crisis for the builders very quickly becomes a trap for everyday people. When a developer goes under, the shockwaves are immediate, and they can be absolutely devastating for the folks who poured their life savings into a dream of a new home.
Just look at this. The sheer scale of this increase is frankly staggering. Deposit insurance claims in Ontario went from $1.6 million in 2021 to nearly $77 million in 2024. That's a 4,800% jump in 3 years. It's a brutal indicator of just how many buyers are now facing the nightmare of losing their deposits on projects that have failed.
And here's the really crucial part. That safety net that so many buyers think they have, it's often way, way smaller than what they've actually invested. People are putting down 15–20% deposits, which can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, far more than the warranty covers. And when a project collapses, those home buyers become what's called unsecured creditors. It's a fancy legal term that basically means you're at the very back of the line to get any money back, way behind the banks and the big lenders. This quote just perfectly sums up the feeling of being trapped. You know, for people who bought a home near the market peak, selling now means taking a catastrophic loss. And for those who bought pre-construction, their money and their future are now just stuck in this legal limbo. The security that real estate was supposed to represent has turned into a constant source of stress.
But here's where the story gets even more interesting. This crisis isn't hitting the whole country in the same way. Instead, what we're seeing is a massive reshuffle. A change in what is being built and where it's being built. It's fundamentally changing Canada's entire housing landscape.
It's really become a tale of two Canadas. On one side, you've got Ontario and BC, where the industry is basically in freefall. Condo starts in the GTA got cut in half. Builder confidence is at a shocking 4.4 out of 100. And remember, 50 is neutral. But then you look at the prairies, and they're booming. Housing starts in Saskatchewan nearly doubled. Builder confidence there is actually positive. It's just two completely different realities playing out at the same time.
And at the same time, we're seeing this historic pivot away from building homes for people to buy and toward building apartments for people to rent. Construction of homes for owners has dropped to levels we haven't seen in 25 years. Meanwhile, the construction of purpose-built rental buildings has surged to a 30-year high, and a lot of that is being backed by government financing.
So, what does all of this mean for the future? For housing, for affordability, for the very idea of owning a home in Canada. The entire market is being rewired right in front of us.
The government's main response so far has been aimed squarely at creating more affordable rentals, with programs like Build Canada Homes. And while that's definitely a step forward for the rental market, critics are quick to point out that it doesn't really solve the core issue for people who actually want to own a home, a massive, massive supply gap.
And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. To even start to make housing affordable again, Canada needs to be building about 400,000 new homes every single year. Right now, we're only building around 245,000, and with tens of thousands of condo units now on pause indefinitely in the Toronto area alone, that gap is only getting wider, which pretty much guarantees that affordability is going to stay out of reach.
So this all leads to a really fundamental question. The entire industry is shifting away from ownership and toward a rental model. For generations, the Canadian dream was defined by owning your own home. Is the goal for the next generation now being rebuilt into something else entirely? Not owning a home, but just finding a stable, long-term place to rent?